Hi, I'm Hilary Doyle, and I'm here to talk about my new class for NYC Crit Club. It's called the Studio Visit. This is my studio. Here you can see it a little better without me in the picture. Sneak peek of some of my paintings here in Worcester, Massachusetts. I am getting ready for a solo show in London coming up, and I'm doing a class on studio visits because I think studio visits have changed so much since the beginning of the pandemic, when I moved from New York City to essentially what feels like the middle of nowhere in the middle of Massachusetts. And I think that that's a really exciting opportunity for artists to do Zoom visits. And this is a new thing that everyone's trying to navigate and figure out in new ways in the last 2 years. And so I'd never seen a class that talks about Zoom studio visits or even studio visits. And I was really excited to have one. So I'm going to share a presentation. And basically, this class is to help artists get more studio visits, no matter where you are in the world. And it can be difficult, even in New York City or in major cities, to get a studio visit, to meet other artists in a natural way. Also, to give studio visits, how does that happen? What's the most positive way to engage with curators, gallery directors, and artists for visits? So I'm going to share my screen and show a very short talk on studio visits and just talk a little bit about like what this class is. So basically, this class, the studio visit that I'll be teaching, first of all, gets each artist in the class 3 visits to discuss your work, which is really important because right off from the bat, this class sets up an opportunity for you where you would get 2 visits with artists from class, and the artists in classes at NYC Crit Club have been amazing. Many of them are my friends now, and it's such a pleasure to meet the artists in the classes. And those 2 visits will kind of be like practice visits for the final visit, which will be with Transmitter Gallery co-directors, the instructor in the class. And so we're going to be watching also some example studio visits with 2 artists, Aubrey Liventhal and Larissa Bates, who are currently showing artists who are, making a living on their work, who do studio visits from different areas. Aubrey is based in Philadelphia and Larissa is based in upstate New York, and talking a little bit about both in-person and Zoom visits. Erica B. Hess, who hosts I Like Your Work podcast, is going to be speaking about your work. That's her expertise, in addition to talking about art. So it's really an opportunity to meet so many different exciting critics. And then not all, but several critics, curators, gallerists, artists from Transmitter Gallery are going to be talking with us. So up to 9 different people in general. Just for those of you that don't know about Transmitter Gallery, Transmitter is located in Bushwick, Brooklyn, in New York City. It's run by artists and curators collaboratively. And I used to be a co-director there and really have great admiration for the artists and curators that work to serve other artists in this gallery. And so Transmitter Gallery is going to come talk to the class. A few co-directors from the gallery are going to come talk to the class on Zoom. This is a Zoom class, if I haven't said that already. And they're going to talk to artists about how to get and give studio visits, best practices for Zoom visits versus in-person visits, how to discuss your work, which work to show, and other questions that you have for these gallery co-directors. And they're going to be coming the first day to talk to us. And then at the end, they're going to come back to look at your work. Here's some of the Transmitter Gallery co-directors that will be with us. Claudia Afona Draper, who's a new co-director. She is going to be joining. Genevieve Flo, who is also a curator and artist, will be joining. Transmitter Gallery co-directors, Kate Greenberg, who's an artist, PR editor, and curator, Ava May Hubble Davis, who has curated for the Queen's Museum, major museums. She's an independent curator, and she's also founding member of El Salon, which is an organization that hosts meetings of artists across New York City. Carl Gunhouse will be joining, who's a photographer, curator, and teacher. What's fantastic about Transmitter Gallery too is that there really is every kind of work represented there. And so I think it's really a gallery that's applicable to any artist who would be joining the class. Then we're gonna have some example studio visits so that we have information on what a great studio visit is like. And also to just really see work by an artist in a studio visit as a class, which can be also really fun. So we're going to be looking at Larissa Bates's work, who's an artist that I think is really incredible. She currently has a show up right now at When You Row Gallery. If you're in New York City, try to go see it. Her work is incredibly intricate, so that's something we'll be talking about, you know, how to do a Zoom visit when you have very detailed work with lots of nuance and complex meaning and references. How to address your work when there's so much behind it and so little time, it feels like sometimes in a studio visit. We'll also be talking about working with galleries and connecting with galleries. This is some of her work. You can see it's very detailed and has real range from abstraction to figuration. We're also going to see an example studio visit by Aubrey Leventhal, and she currently has work up in a fantastic show at the ICA in Boston, Massachusetts, and has had solo shows with MMB Gallery and many others. So these are serious working artists who are gonna let us visit their studio, talk to us about their work, for example visits, and then do Q&A with artists. Another thing that Aubrey and the class is going to talk about is also this idea of like feeling nervous before a visit, or you know, having, you know, this feeling where maybe you know, a visit could be awkward or something, and what to do in those kinds of situations. And I think that those are the kinds of things that I think are really important to address as a group together and to discuss together, because they're real. And I think that's, you know, an important part of this class. Here's some more of Aubrey's paintings, and you can see they're just beautiful. And this one with the orange juice is really funny. There's humor too. And I just, I'm really excited for our class to talk with her about her work, to look at her paintings in her studio in Philadelphia on Zoom. I think that's one of the great things about Zoom too, is that you can look at work both in person in a studio or in a slideshow, so, and talk about it like an artist talk. So it's kind of like the best of all worlds. Finally, our last guest speaker is going to be Erica B. Hess, as I mentioned. And she really has so much experience speaking with artists, and I'm really excited to hear her tips for artists on speaking about their work. She currently has a show up at Marietta College. Here's some pictures from that, of gigantic paintings. And, you know, she's an artist who juggles a lot. And I think that that's something that many artists today are doing. You know, she's running a podcast, she's making her work in her studio, she takes care of 3 children. Many of the artists I mentioned are also parents. So that's another thing about, you know, getting studio visits. How do you do it? And giving studio visits when there's so little time. So I think that's something else that we're definitely going to be talking about in the class. So I really, you know, in conclusion, this is another Aubrey Leventhal painting. I just hope that those of you that join this class are excited to have studio visits this summer, are excited to learn about best practices for studio visits, and to think about studio visits in a way that meaningfully impacts you and positively impacts your practice, and also impacts positively others and those around you when you visit their studio. And this is a great way that we can support and help make the art world better together. So I really hope you can be part of this with us this summer. The class is 6 weeks, it's on Wednesdays, It's in the very beginning, it's the first Wednesday in around May 27th. And then that Sunday we have a class, and that's to replace a week in June when the class will be preparing for the final visits. So it's a 6-week class. It's weekly on Wednesdays on Zoom. If you can't make it to a class or something, it's not a huge deal. I could even maybe record the class for you. So just if you're interested in signing up and you're not already at the NYC Career Club website, just go to the Career Club website and sign up before it fills. I really hope to see you this summer and to work with you. Okay, take care. Bye.